I'm just going to talk on designing, developing, and commissioning a website in compliance with the government norms, and how to go in a practical way. This is my topic of the agenda of my presentation is like I'm just going to brief on how to go about projecting the designing and developing of the website, and how to go about with the strategies to the management by proposing the project, and some of the standards that are available in Indian scenario as well as in an international scenario, and how to approach the service provider, and what are the service providers facilitating in designing and developing the website related activities, and scope of the job, and some of the milestones how to set while just going ahead with the project, and with respect to finalizing the website design. This is one of the crucial aspect of website design and development, and content compilation is another kind of a Herculean task, I would say, to get the information in a standardized way. That is also I'm just going to just touch upon, and some of the hardware and software, and website hosting activities, and AMC, and finally conclusion is the way I'm just going to present my experiences. First of all, I hope when any professional is going in up the ladder of any institute, definitely, and they will get a more responsibilities to shoulder upon. And in a similar way, this is also one of the projects wherein I have received from the management to just shoulder and design and develop the website for the institute. I'm just talking about the design and development of the institute website, and specifically a government website, wherein the government norms are there, wherein one has to just follow these guidelines to develop a very good website for projecting the institutional activities, as well as projecting the services of the institute. So one has to just keep in mind the scope and objectives of the institute while just planning the website project, and one has to reasonably have a kind of a site plan. What are the various departments and functions that are there, and what are the services that are there available in the institute, and how best one can just categorize them in a kind of a logical and a systematic order, so that you can just lay all those sections in the while designing the website. And also simultaneously, you can just reasonably just have a kind of dialogues and interactions with the industry experts, as well as professionals who are designing the websites, as well as some of the experienced resource persons while just designing and developing the website. And you can also get some of the very valuable inputs while just putting a proposal. And also you can just simultaneously have a kind of a look at the various websites in a similar line wherein your institute is just working on. If it is a kind of a research as well as an academic institute, whether it's a health science sector or a service sector, you can reasonably just visit some of the website related to these areas to understand how the trends are just going on in case of designing the websites of these sectors. It's a kind of studying and understanding the various designs and models that are just trending in the internet, and by which you will have a reasonable idea on how best you can just design the institute website. And coming to the point of this thing, discussion with the stakeholders, directors, and the decision makers are the key management which will be involved in discussing various aspects of designing the website before even starting the project. And after having a lot of background activities and homework, and you can just reasonably just draft the proposal, so that you can just put across and present your thoughts and ideas how best you can just go ahead with the project of designing and developing the website. When you are just browsing the internet for various websites, you will come across different types and different layout and different design layouts, as well as different standards are being used, and different navigation architecture and look and feel also will differ from site to site, and it all differs from sector to sector. Maybe banking sector websites are different, academic institute websites are different, and research institute websites are different, and even health science sector websites are different. So you have to reasonably understand the background of the kind of institute or overall overview of the institute activities, and so that you can just conceptualize your ideas to suiting to the best of the best designs, wherein you can just come out with while designing your own institute website. I would like to just mention here that Government of India has come out with one very good manual, that is guidelines for the Indian government websites. That is GIGW is one of the manual I can just would recommend and suggest anyone who is just involved in any of the designing of the website activities. Before starting the project, definitely you just go through this particular manual, and it is one of the best what you can say manual one can refer, wherein it can just give the overall picture of how best one can just go ahead with designing website, and what is the scope of the content, quality of the content, how one can just go with the designing aspects, developmental aspects, website hosting, website promotion, website management, mobile app guidelines, Government of India identifiers, building confidence, and these are some of the very important elements it has covered. And one of the another major objective of this particular designing this manual is like uh, it also confirms triple U triology, that is usable, user centric, or universally accessible kind of. All the guidelines are just very much well drafted and well narrated. One can reasonably go through before just taking on the job of developing the website. And also it takes care of this guidelines based on this ISO 23026, and is an international standard that is systems and software engineering and management of websites for the system, software, and service information. This particular ISO 23026 is all about. And it also takes care of this web content accessibility guidelines, WCAG 2.0, and rights of persons with disabilities Act 2016, and compliance to IT Act India, and website quality certification from STQC. STQC is again one of the important body in India under the directorate attached to Ministry of Electronics and IT. It provides a quality assurance service. STQC is nothing but a standardization, testing, and quality certification. It's also one of the mandate wherein the Government of India recommends to get the certification from STQC. With respect to this GIGW, when we started this project in the year 2018, around 115 elements were there, wherein one has to just comply all these 115 elements. But in the recent revision in the year 2019, that it has got revised, and now at present I think 94 elements are there, and wherein one has to comply all these 94 elements while designing and developing the government website. Again, coming to the this policies and standards, institutes also will have a kind of policies in place, and also the Government of India also recommends certain standards. So this GIGW is the very first element. The guideline says while just designing and developing, it should one should have a web information manager to just take care on the entire activities related to the design and development. And also it mentions the website should be in the bilingual English and regional. That regional may be in a Hindi or even the local language, and it should have a kind of a contrast view for color blind people, that is BYW, that is the black, yellow, and white. If you just look at some of the government websites, you will have also have this option of looking at this BYW effect, wherein after clicking that, the entire screen will just look differently, wherein it is more helpful to for the blind people also to read and understand the website. And also any government website should have this nac.in domain or gov.in domain. So language is free from spelling and grammatical errors is also one of the, what I can say, element in that GIGW. Here you can just very much visit this website compliance matrix. It gives a detailed, as I said, 94 elements are there in this particular manual. Again, coming to the copyright aspect, whenever we are just uploading any contents, we should have a copyright with the institute, wherein it says about contents cannot be reproduced without the permission of the institute. So we have to, or the institute has to just define all these policies before just developing the website. And the copyright policy, whether it is a hyperlinking policy, that is the links leading the user to other website in the web page, it does not endorse the contents or views of or expressions of the other website wherein the link is leading the user to that particular website. And privacy, whether, and also whenever the end users or users are just using the website, or whether it is a filling up a form or even otherwise, whenever they are browsing the information, the contents, if sometimes if interactive modules wherein the applications are there, wherein the statement should be there that the privacy of the individual who is using or filling the form is used only and only for the purpose of the form where it has been just designed, not otherwise. In the sense, it cannot capture the information automatically for some other purpose. It should be that privacy policy also should be declared on the website. And accessibility, the contents are accessible, viewable in any device and technology. So these are some of the various elements that are there mentioned in the website compliance matrix. So content contribution also is one of the very important element, wherein whatever the information you are just gathering from various departments and services, it has to be standardized, and we have to have a kind of a policy of the flow of that content when it is getting generated from the point to the point of uploading it on the website. And also the content archives, whether whenever the information is uploaded on the website, and there should be kind of a mechanism in place in the website itself, like if anyone wants to really just have a look at the previous versions of this draft, that should be available under the archives. So all these, some of the elements should be very much clearly documented before just designing and going for developing any website. These are all some of the policies and standards. And again, coming to the institute policies of hardware and software aspect. In case of some institutes, if the institute policy itself makes the institute to have anything and everything in their premises, so that time the institute should have the hardware in their premises. Otherwise, one can really hire the cloud-based services of the government as well as the private institutes. So Megharaj is one of the services provided by the NICSI, and one can very much hire various services under the Meghraj. I'll just come back to that particular slide later. And some of the industry standards. Whenever you are just referring or using the contents of some other website, you should reasonably obtain the copyright contents permission from the institute or from the source wherever you are just capturing the information. and mechanism to remove the outdated content. So you have to just design and develop the website in such a way that at point of time, whenever the modules are there in certain cases, for example, the tenders, if the tender is details are uploaded, and if the due date is over, automatically that particular content should disappear from the front screen and it should go in the archives. So one should have a mechanism to move the contents automatically once it becomes or it expires. And also the guidelines, one of the guidelines says that no links to under construction, because many of the sites also just take a lead of the users to the site. If it is if the page is not really fully just developed, it will just come out with a kind of a flash of under constructions. So none of the links on the government should have any kind of such leading messages. That's what the guidelines mentions. And use of responsive technology, the website should be developed in such a way that any device anyone is just using and should be able to just view the website in a proper way, whether it is a tab or whether it's a mobile or whether it's a PC or laptop, whatever. And also it should comply with all the browsers, so that including the regional language, wherein one can reasonably have a proper view of the website. And the guidelines are so many, and looking at the number of guidelines, as I said, the new latest version has a 94 and the older one was having 115. It is practically difficult for anyone to just comply all the norms. Then how to just achieve this? Uh, it is recommended in such case, it is better to approach the service provider. So I'm just coming to the service provider of this website designer and developing the entire activities, who can just reasonably take care on all the requirement, including complying all the government guidelines. NICSI is the body, National Informatics Center Services Incorporation, comes under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, located in Delhi. So you can just reasonably approach the services of NICSI to design and develop. I would strongly recommend anyone for this matter, wherein one can very much have a discussion with the NICSI officials, wherein they will just reasonably guide on how to just go about designing and developing of a website of the institute or organization. And also they provide the IT solutions for multiple e-governance projects undertaken by NIC or otherwise government organizations. Under the NICSI, they do have different services. Even on the other day, Dr. Francis was just mentioning all these services of the NICSI, and also this cloud-based services, Meghraj, wherein it is just giving the services of PaaS, that is a platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, and software as a service. And just to inform you, this library science management service software, that is eGranthala, is also listed under the this Meghraj as one of the services wherein they are just providing to the library science community. They have plenty of other services. If you just go on to this, hook onto this Meghraj under the NICSI platform, you will just get all the services what the NICSI or Meghraj is giving. Coming back to this service of the NICSI and role of the NICSI in designing and developing of this website. It acts as a mediator or coordinator between the customer and the service provider, and it also reasonably take care on inviting the service providers, that is certain empaneled vendors. Again, it is one of the what you can say important body in India, wherein it is a computer emergency response team is one of the national nodal agency for responding to computer security incidences as and when they occur. Uh, uh, this NICSI is identifying various vendors based on their experience and expertise in the service sector of this IT, and they are just identifying and also allocating them as a kind of tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, or level 1, level 2, level 3 kind of service providers in the industries. And also they are just having a kind of what you can say MOU between the service provider, and also they are all empaneled vendors, official vendors, approved vendors by the NICSI. Again, as it is a government of India, any institute, whenever they are just approaching the NICSI, one need not have to just go through the tendering procedure, which is a common procedure in most of the government organizations. So one can bypass this tender procedures one if uh, an institute goes directly to the service of the NICSI to get the support of any website designer, and also they just identify the suitable service provider or designer, and also they recommend, and also in the process one has to have a good number of meetings before just taking a final call on finalizing any particular vendor. And even in the dialogues, reasonably one can have or define the scope and the methodology of how to go about designing and developing, and whether the vendor has to really just visit the institute and study various departments and services, and identify the various requirements, as well as analyzing and redesign whether if the institute has already a website in place, whether it needs a kind of upgradation or redesigning of the same or redeveloping the same, and data migration aspects, and testing, implementation, training, and maintenance. So uh, all these aspects should be discussed in detail with the NICSI officials before just going ahead with the NICSI services. And then executing the order and delivery of the products also can be very well defined in this agreement. And also in case of our institute experience, we, though the NICSI came into picture as a kind of a mediator, we also had an agreement with the NICSI saying that yes, we being a kind of a DE institute, we have our own policies and rules and regulations, and anything and everything whatever we are just discussing, we need to just document, and we will have a kind of a MOU on that also. In that way we emphasized on that, and we insisted, and we had a kind of a agreement between us and NICSI, so that nothing is what I can say going beyond our view or discussion, and later it should not lead to a kind of a, argument situation for both the parties. So when we place the order to the NICSI, yes, of course, when we place the order for designing and developing, the orders will be placed to the NICSI. It is not to the identified web developer, and wherein it is in the document, as I said, all the uh, elements what we discussed and finalized or agreed upon between the parties, the NICSI and the institute. That is very much the developer is just following all the GIGW norms, and the STQC certification is being issued, and security audit is taken care of, and SSL certificate also is integrated to the servers, and also the website is designed and developed based on the bilingual way, and also uh, inputs and assurance of completion of the job. These are all major elements which are being included in the documentation of agreement between the institute and the act that makes it. In the agreement, again, the service of the design, development, commissioning of the website, MOU with the service provider. Again, we need to understand various services of the designer and developer for the system study, development of the website, and implementation and maintenance of the dynamic website and its applications. And also another important element is the payment terms and conditions. Most of the government organizations, they do have their own payment procedures, wherein the NICSI has their own policy. Though it is a government organization, they also do have their own policy that they insist upon payment of the 100% payment towards any kind of a jobs what they are just taking for the customer. But since we also being a kind of a government institute, we also had a kind of a policies in place wherein we cannot just give the 100% of the payment towards this design and development of the website. So it's a kind of understanding, and after that understanding and agreement only, we also just made a kind of a condition saying that the payment will be released in the phase wise, as and when the website takes developments. And yes, definitely we need to really define the scope of the job while just uh, having a kind of a agreement, designing, developing, and hosting as per the GIGW WCAG norms, and use of CMS, whether it's a Drupal, or Joomla, or WordPress, or whichever. Again, it is recommended. Even during the discussions, also we need to involve all the IT guys, directors, management team, and heads of the divisions, wherein uh, we need to have a kind of a common consensus or understanding that we are using and developing a best of the best sites, wherein it is the source of the CMS also matters for the IT. So it is recommended, and also we have to identify the expertise of the developer also. If we are selecting a Joomla, whether the team in that service provider, web developers end, whether they have expertise in that Joomla, or also we have to reasonably understand and explore during the discussions so that we can just go ahead with the deal. Apart from designing and development of the website, applications is another major element wherein one has to really look into, whether it is a recruitment aspect or trainee programs, vendor patient registration, and several other applications are there. And for that matter, if you look into various applications developed in any institute, hundreds of applications will be there working at the back end. Maybe each and every department, whether it is administration or purchase or even IT department or even the research department, they will be having their own small applications designed and developed by the local IT team. One has to reasonably look into all aspects before just going for a deal for uh, uh, giving an order to the NICSI, or even finally to the web developer. So reasonably, one has to consider from all these angles. It is not only the website, web applications also matters a lot, because it reduces the too much of activity from the administrators also, and also comes out with a kind of a very valuable what I can say reports at the end, and easy to manage many of the activities. Otherwise, many of the individual applications are there wherein they are running at the back end, but they will not be there very much directly there available on the website. And coming to hosting on the local server or cloud, as I said, it based on the institute policy, whether one should own the server or one can hire the server on the cloud-based services. And migrating the data from the website, existing website, and integration of the existing databases and applications, integration of a payment gateway. Again, payment gateway is again one more major aspect. If you are just having an application of patient registration or recruitment, if the end user is just supposed to make the payment, you should have a kind of a payment gateway. Again, this payment gateway is another major what you can say deal one has to have with the service providers like banks. uh, Again, being a government, we will have a kind of a limitations, or we have to just go ahead with the ser- bank service providers wherein they are just attached to or associated with the uh, institute, wherein they are just drawing or transacting all the financial aspects of the institute. And security audit, we have to reasonably derive all these aspects of security audit also should be taken before the go live as well as during the EMC period. We have to specify all these aspects. Why I'm specifying all these is like these audit charges are a bit I would say heavy only, and per audit they just go somewhere around 50,000 for the websites as well as 70,000 for the applications. So these are also kind of a part of integral part of the design and development as well as safe functioning of the institute websites. And integration of SSL certificate. On the right side, if you look at this, uh, this having this secure socket layer certificate, it ensures that the website is reasonably safe and secured. And whereas if you're not integrating this SSL certificate, it shows like HTTP only. If you have the certificate, definitely it comes out with a S element. And if you are having a kind of a payment gateway attached to your website or any of the applications of the institute website, it is always advised to go with the having this SSL certificate. Uh, the scope of the job, again, user acceptance before go live and warranty after go live, the number of years uh, after the warranty period under the EMC one can just think of, and also audit for the GIGW and STQC post go live, and all these are chargeable. And EMC after completion of the warranty, and security audits during the EMC, website and website applications backup system, end user training on the CMS applications, handover of source codes with the user manual. These are some of the major elements one should have all of them in the kind of a document while just dealing with the Nixie or the service provider. These are the requirement overviews as I just mentioned, whether it's a revamping, redesigning of the website uh, or the website should run through all the common browsers or platform compatible and comply with the GIGW guidelines and comply with the worldwide web consortia standards, STQC compliance, and security audited and security provisions and mobile responsive. These are some of the requirements which are very much to be considered while just going ahead with the agreement with the Nixie. And the features and functionalities. Any website for that matter will have a kind of a search option to just directly go to the respective link or a kind of a keyword. So one has to really think of having this search option also on the website. And event calendar, if you are just organizing regular events in the institute, whether it's academic or even otherwise, event calendar is also one of the say module wherein one can just think of, and streaming videos. So video clips, again, on this aspect I would suggest, if it is not a kind of institute policy, one can reasonably hire or use the YouTube platform rather than just uploading the heavy files on your server and making it more, what I can say, difficult to run all these videos whenever any user is just using the website to see some of the images or even to stream some of the videos on the website. And tender is another module, and as I said, the media gallery or video aspect, and what is new. And as I just mentioned, as and when the new event is coming up or it is announced, it should come on the top, whereas the older one should go at the bottom. And recruitment module, likewise, one has to reasonably think from multi angles from all the activities of the institute before just going for placing the order for the design and development. Again, feedback from the end users, registration facilities, and login facilities for the administrator once the website is finally designed and developed, so that the users or administrators in the institute, they themselves can just log in as well as update the contents. And the facility booking, it's also one of the module one can just think of, and some of the training and maintenance are other parts of the document wherein one has to reasonably just ensure that these are in place, so that as and when the even the in case of applications, what I just observed, it takes a lot of a time even coming to a consensus, like the flow of kind of a job. For example, the recruitment, it starts from the form to the end user or applicant applying and feeding the details, and again at the back end the administrator are just extracting the reports at their end, and also they need to have a kind of a reports which is more convenient and usable for their further activities. So one has to think from all these angles, and also whether the payment gateway is just there attached to this, integrated with this recruitment, and also whether the payment details are reflecting, and the payment related activities or kind of details should just reflect in the system of the accounts people, so that the kind of coordination is required from multi angles to execute or even develop a particular application. So even the cost of application of designing and developing is much higher compared to the designing and develop of a website. So in case of our institute website also, we have paid slightly bit more only for developing 6 applications compared to the development of the complete entire website of the institute. So these are the major elements one should reasonably have a look into before just taking on a final call for developing a website. And a pricing model, coming to this aspect, it is a bit difficult to just understand even at the beginning. A couple of years before, when I just got this project in my hand, I was just really looking and hunting for kind of how to come out with a kind of understanding that cost of the website, how one can just reasonably just think on and agree or even accept that kind of a pricing model what the vendor is coming out with. uh, During the exploration, I just happened to come across there are in major 2 types of models are there. One is a per page model and one is a man hour model. This Nixie is very much following the man hour model, wherein they are just reasonably understanding the work involved in designing and developing, whether it's a website aspect or whether it's a web application aspect. They will just have a kind of a, it's a, again a discussion between the customer, the Nixie, and the web developer or the designer. So the 3 parties will be sitting together and discussing the kind of activities involved and the man hours and the efforts involved in uh, designing and developing the website. And based on that, the developer will just come out with a proposal of how many man hours are required for the development of the website, and what is the period it takes, how long it will take, and the role of individual, whether it is a project manager involvement or with the solution architect and UI designer, whether it's the developers. Example, basically the developers are the key people who will be just working on whether it's a website or application. So again, the uh, uh, role of each and every one is very much important and vital, and uh, the developer will definitely come out with all the major experts involved in developing the website. So here I just for the sake of understanding, I have just taken only few, but maybe around 15 to 20 different skilled people are required for designing and developing a website. And also uh, whether it is a quality expert, database admin, or secretary expert, a systems admin or tester, Likewise, based on the number of years of experience also, they will just identify the man hour required, how many man hour is required for a developer with the experience of 3 to 5 years, and how many man hours are required for a developer with a 5 years or more number of years of experience. In that way, uh, all these individuals are involved in that, and also the effort estimates are put up by the developer to the management for accepting the what I can say total estimate involved in the entire development of the website. So this manpower required per month for the project, as approved by the NICSI. Uh, uh, the role of individuals involved in, as well as their rates or prices, how much they will be just taking, all these elements will be there in this particular column. And multiplication factor is a number of days or months they are just going to be a part of this particular project. For example, this manager's involvement in the entire project will be approximately 1 month, in a period of say around 6 months. If the project is taking a 6 months period, the project manager's man hour involvement will be reasonably 1 month. In the sense, here the rate will be a kind of a 1 month salary will be there. So likewise, this calculation of cost of this website design will come out like. And again, as I said, the website design and development cost is different, and web applications design and development cost is different. And again, the rates will be here in this column, and multiplication factor, that is nothing but a number of days or month. Here in this case, it is a month, 1 month, 15 days, 2 months, 2.5 months, 1.5 months, 1 month, 2 months. Likewise, uh, this multiplication factor is also another element wherein is a continuous activity in case of developers, as well as they also have to kind of have interactions with the testers. And as and when kind of a stage it completes, they have to just have a kind of a testing again and again. So it is a kind of team involved in designing and developing. So this effort estimates is one of the what you can say element for the management to decide upon how much the cost is coming out, and whether it is feasible to go ahead with the placing the order. And apart from this cost of the design and development, these are the again standard charges by the certain this thing for getting the security audit before go live, and the security audit after go live. It all depends on the individual institute whether they can just go only one or they can just go multi. So there is no end for this. One can reasonably have a kind of a proper check, so that at least before go live and after go live, security audits are reasonable. That's what our IT team has just suggested, and accordingly we have just documented all this. And even if you really want to have a kind of additional security audit in case if certain observations are there by the auditors, again you can just go ahead with the security audit, wherein again, as I said, they are charge based. And per audit, as I said, the website charges are somewhere 50,000, and web application charges are 70,000 per audit. And also GIGW compliance also, this STQC, they also charge. So these are some of the charges one has to pay. There is no second thought in that, or there is no negotiation. And also this web developer will just reasonably take care on ensuring and getting the certificates of these government bodies. So it's a kind of a less of a headache uh, to get the work done from the web developer under the NICSI empaneled service provider, rather than just hunting any website designer and developer on our. So again, one can just reasonably have or set a milestones of the projects, like website template design and approval, uh, final website design and approval, because it's also one of the major what you can say activity of the project, wherein it becomes difficult for any management for that matter to just to zero on any particular design proposed by a vendor. And also they also will have a kind of a limitations. They cannot just keep on coming out with the kind of a menu, like they have a set of templates with them, because these professionals are really just understanding, studying, and ensuring the website layout design is coming out in a very proper way. So then they are just presenting all those templates to the management. So development of a website, again, security audit, and second the security audit and go live when the go live should take place, and offsite maintenance. So one can have a reasonable what you can say milestones also in place in the agreement or even otherwise. And design approval is one of the crucial aspect. As I said, it is very difficult for anyone to just get a final satisfaction of any of the design whatever they just come out with. So it takes a lot of our time, and we had several meetings even for zeroing on this particular design what we have just finally come out with. And provision of the future expansion also we have to reasonably take care, so that the website can accommodate the future expansion services and plans, so that it should not happen that you are just designing a website and after a month or two you will come out with a kind of a new project wherein that also need to be integrated or part of the website. So one has to reasonably look from all the angles and ensure the major objectives of the institutes are reflecting on the screen, and also the information is citizen centric, and deliver the services, and the tabs or labels also should be user centric, so that the users can reasonably understand the labels easily, rather than just using the jargons becomes more difficult for the end user to go through the contents what they are looking for in the website. So these are the three designs what the developer has just come out with, and that to these three models came out after maybe a 3 or 4 months, because as I said, they are just putting very hard work on every element on the front page uh, before just putting across the sample models or templates. So even in spite of all these professional designs, again the committee will never get a kind of a satisfaction, because every individual's choice or colors or layout or the kind of designs or models will differ. So finally, it was decided having a combination of a couple of elements from one template and a couple of elements from another template. So finally, we had a kind of a combination of 2 3 elements from all the three, and we have just come out with a final design which has been approved by the management. And content compilation is another task for a person who is really handling the website design and development. Though the website designing and developing activities are happening, compiling the information is toughest job, I would say, because I have experience, because you have to send a mails as well as send a reminders. In spite of that, you will not get any response, and somehow we have to manage somehow to get the information what is required on the website. And for that, one can just reasonably think of coming out with a kind of decent templates for the departments, facilities of scientists and officer in charges, so that directly you can just request them to fill in the templates, so that it becomes easy for them also to just to give the information what is required for the website. And also the language of the website on the institute website should be a kind of standardized. One has to ensure, maybe if it is required, one has to reasonably refer the contents received to the experts in the domain, so that nothing is really going missing, or misinformation should not be uploaded by chance also. And as I just mentioned, the standardizing the whether it is a text or images or tables. So one has to reasonably take care on all these aspects. And even in case of the videos also, the only good quality images or videos only to be considered while just considering any content for the website purpose. And these are the two servers wherein our website is sitting on a virtual machine, and same is the Drupal. And during the discussions, we have just come across that the website developer team is experts in Drupal, so we have just opted to go with the Drupal, though some other open source code softwares were there. And this web 6 applications are there sitting on another server on a different sync machine, and that is located in another building. So these two servers are there wherein the website as well as the applications are hosted on. And even while just before hosting also, one has to have a kind of a reasonable conducive environment for hosting the website as well as application. And most of the activity of designing and developing of the website will take place in the place of the developer. And finally the final website codes are just uploaded on our server, and maybe again it will just take a 2-3 days to upload the contents as well as ensure that all the functions and features of the website, whether it's a module or application, they are functioning properly. They will just check in 2-3 days and then it is ready to go live. So in conclusion, I would say that institute website should have industry standards, and also they should have a simple look and feel, and also they should be properly functional. And also the website should provide or cover the primary objective of being kind of a user-centric source of information, and should deliver the information to the end user. So this is the website of our institute, wherein we have just outsourced this activity through Nixie, and the developer is a Silver Touch based in Ahmedabad, and this is the final design which has been approved, and it is very much alive and active on this https active.gov.in. And this is the occasion of go live, wherein all the top officials of the institutes were present during the inauguration launch of this website. Our director, Dr. R.A. Badwe for TMC, was the key person who launched this website. So a team of officials under the TMC, and these are some of the glimpses of the launch of this website. With this, I just conclude my presentation, and I am now ready to take any queries if they are there. Thank you.
Satish,
yeah, thank you. Thank you, Dr. Satish.
Okay, sir, I would like to thank Satish and request formally Professor Tarsat to take over and moderate.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Anand. Thank you, Dr. Satish, for your wonderful explanation about designing, developing,
Satish,
and functioning
can you
the website.
stop sharing your screen?
Yeah, just a minute. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Satish, for your wonderful lecture. It was really, though theoretical, it was almost like a practical one. And the impact of almost 41 questions indicate the fact that it has inculcated a kind of hot discussion among the participants. Dr. Satish was my senior alumni at Karnataka University, Dharwad, and has really done some wonderful jobs by designing websites. Though we had seen some web culture in libraries before 1990s, that kind of a web culture was different story. which Dr. Ranganathan had quite beautifully narrated in his 5 laws of library science. But now we have switched over to the different kind of websites, and every library professional has now accepted the fact, and the very fact that authorities ask the librarians first regarding the creation of websites and modifications, if any, that itself is an indication. And Dr. Satish, you have really given a wonderful lecture, and appreciations to you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Some of them are repeated, some of them are already answered in your lecture, some of them have been answered live. Very few questions I would like to take, with some fundamental questions asked by Dr. Ishappa Bandi.
Yeah.
Is portal and websites same? Take within 1 minute, please answer it.
E-portals and website in this virtual world, any kind of interactive website for that matter, it's a bit difficult to say or define what is the e-portal or website. Any kind of interactive website or dynamic website wherein it is just giving a kind of various links to various other resources, and normally we call it as a portal, wherein the main gateway. So it is a bit difficult to just define clearly the portal and website. Nowadays all are what I can say, overlapping one over the other. So
okay. There is one more question, a fundamental question from Dr. Karthikeyan.
Yeah.
Is there any difference between web page and website?
Web page and website. Web page is a part of the website, I would say, in that way.
Yeah. Dr. Asen Sellan has 3 questions. Are there any guidelines for government websites and non-government websites?
I don't think so.
Second one is language used in government websites inclusive of language or biased? And the third question from the same person is that are government websites user friendly?
The very first questions I would say that yes, Government of India has come out with the guidelines for the government websites. I do not see any kind of guidelines for the non-government websites. That is number one. And number two is, can you just repeat the second question?
Yeah, is language used in government websites inclusive of language or biased?
No, I think it is a standard language wherein diplomatically or in a very standard way, which is user focused contents are just there in the website. And the third one is,
third question is, are government websites user friendly?
I would say yes. If you look at some of the very latest website, whether it's MyGov websites, if you just really hook on to some of the latest websites of the ministries or otherwise also, they are very robust and very, what I can say, pleasing and informative. And also one can reasonably just get the right information in very least time rather than just hunting for the information or to look for the information for that matter.
Okay. Dr. N. Karunakar has one more question. Yeah. What parameters should be considered for website genuineness?
Website genuineness.
Yeah.
And it is, as I said, that security audit or SSL certificate also is one of the, what I can say, HTTPS, you can say it is a, what I can say, secured site, I would say, as well as gov.in or nic.in are other kind of, what I can say, domain name identification also one can just reasonably assess the kind of or rely on the website sources.
Dr. Shivshankar Prasad from University of Hyderabad has a question for you.
Yeah.
He asks, is it better to go to the NICSI or some other private vendor for execution?
It all depends on the management or the end user. If they are comfortable with a private vendor, there is no issue. and this is one of the further government bodies. As I said, the GIGW mentions here on 94 elements of what you can say comply with. So if it is a government body, I would recommend it to NICSI. Otherwise, even otherwise also it is not an issue if someone is directly approaching to some other service provider. And also one more thing I would
Last
like to mention, I just missed in my presentation. There are NICSI charges of 7% to the total cost. Of course, bill will be there as a common one figure, but that 7% will be inclusive of that figure, or whatever you just received the final bill.
Rudra Ranjan has one more question. This is the last one. What are the consequences if any government organizations are not following the compliances?
As such, I would not say any strict, what you can say, stringent norms are there if someone is not really following. Just like to give an example, wearing a helmet while riding a two-wheeler is a kind of a rule. But you can see many are moving around and even in front of the cops. So,
that's a nice thing, and we are running short of time. I thank you very much on behalf of the LIS Academy and the NCSI. And there are many questions which are unanswered. Maybe you can take some time to answer them.
Sure.
Thank you very much for your wonderful explanation, and back to Dr. Anand Bhairap.